Hi everyone, it's Lisa with Ink and Inspirations, Independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and today we're going to be making this card with the Celebration Catching Butterfly stamp set. So I'm starting off with a piece of basic white, 2 by 5 1/4, a layering piece at 2 1/4 by 5 1/4 for the back of the basic white, some of the Sunshine and Rainbows designer paper at 4 by 5 1/4, and then the card base at 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2, with a basic white layer and a strip of that excess designer paper in the inside. So we're going to be using Stampin' blends to color, but first we're going to build up the outside of the card. So I want some ribbon across that designer paper, and so I have some of the glittered organdy ribbon, and I'm going to have about 12 inches of that, and I'm just going to wrap it around the designer paper and tie a knot, and it's going to be over to the left side. Now when you do this, your ribbon will be finished on the outside of the card on that top layer and not show on the inside of the card. So I'm just going to trim that off a little bit and it'll be ready to go. So let's go ahead and adhere that down before we work on the rest of the card. So this is just our regular liquid glue. I put it in a fine tip glue bottle to make it a little easier for me and my granddaughters to use the glue. And so that layer is going to go there, but let's work on our main layer. Now this little girl is going to be stamped in Memento Black ink, and we're going to color with Stampin' blends. So let's go ahead and put that on, and we'll do all of our stamping first before we start coloring. Now this particular stamp set is one that you can earn for free through February 28, 2022 with a $50 purchase. And it is adorable. I have used it so many times for so many different cards. Here you can see I'm taking some of the grass stamp and stamping it in Granny Apple Green just below her feet. And then next I'm going to take the Sweet Sentiment Collecting Sweet Thoughts of You, mount that on my block, and I'm going to stamp that in Bermuda Bay ink. So I'm using my grid sheet to get that straight. And then I'm going to stamp that at the lower edge of that basic white. The grid sheet helps keep everything straight. So now we can do some, one more little stamp here, the little butterfly, to go just on the outside of her net. And we can start coloring with our Stampin' blends. So first I'm using some of our new Natural Tones blends. And I like to use these colors for hair and skin and eyes. They're just beautiful. So I'm using this, I believe that's SU 900, and coloring her skin. Now, I will say that I found that, you know, when you color, most of the time with blends, you color it on and then it lightens as it dries. And I find that with these as well. So I'm coloring her legs, her feet, and her neck too. And then I'm going to take this dark shade, SU 200, I believe it is, and colored her eyes. Then I have 500 and 600 that I, colored on the net. But I'm going to take my color lifter and pull that off. It's just a white clear, and it pulls up any mistakes or bleeding that you might have. And I'm going to take 500 and 600 and do her hair now. So this, I take the darker shade and just kind of fill in and then color in with the lighter. Just kind of blending them. You can really do the light or the dark first. It's just a matter of personal preference. I like these colors for the hair because it kind of matches our granddaughter's hair. It's in the middle of, two of them have lighter colored hair and one of them has really dark hair. Or darker hair, I should say. So I'm just blending in some colors and adding some different colors in there to give it some variation. Now I'm going to use Light So Saffron on those lines on the net to give it some color so it's not just done in black and white. And I'm going to take my dark Bermuda Bay and outline her little dress using the lines that the artist put there and adding a few shadows there underneath, like her arms and on one side of the dress. Then I can take the light Bermuda Bay and do some coloring and blend that darker shade in with the lighter shade. Just have fun with it. I'm using light Bermuda Bay on the butterfly and then Flirty Flamingo in there as well, just to give a little bit more color to the image. Now we can adhere that to our backdrop of Bermuda Bay, again using liquid glue. And then I'm going to adhere that to the front of the card. Our ribbon is already on there, our inside is already done, and we'll just have a little bit left to do. I'm going to trim off a little bit off that top that was extending beyond the top of the Bermuda Bay. So let's go ahead and adhere this to the card front, and then we need to add a little bit of bling. So I'm going to be using the iridescent rhinestones that are just beautiful. Pick up so many different colors with the light. And on this particular card, I'm going to scatter 5 of them, filling in kind of like those white spaces, one there under the butterfly and one, or 2 under the butterfly and 1 to her left there. And there we have our finished card. Let me know if you have any questions about this card. Visit my website at inkandinspirations.com, and I will see you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.